Happy Prismatic Evolution release day, everybody. I hope that this is a great day for you. I hope that you are able to get your hands on some of the product, whether that's at your local shop, Walmart, LGS, or perhaps even that beloved Pokemon Center exclusive dropping at your door, hopefully sometime today. I know we just got ours. As a small aside on that, if you're wondering if you bought 4, it had 2 separate orders, and you bought 2 and 2 and wondered if that would be delivered as a case, ours was not. It was delivered in 2 separate boxes. So I don't think if you were forced or you came in at the point that Pokemon changed that maximum quantity order size, then I think you're probably going to get the same thing that we got. But best of luck, and regardless, I hope you enjoy it. Now, what we're going to cover here today is a little bit of something different. It's going to be everything, not just from the pull rate perspective and understanding what the pull rates are across the different categories, but also looking at the card quality, the card stock. Do these look like a good grade of you? Does it look like there's any manufacturing defects that are popping out with this first batch? And then, of course, talk a little bit about the playability and TCG side and how much that might add to, and of course, reprints that could lower the prices for some of our favorite cards in the decks. Now, before we dive in, I will say this is a very small sample size. We did get our packs from distribution last week. And from that point of view, we got about 300 packs, minus about 20 to be specific. So in that view, it's not going to be anywhere too conclusive, but I haven't seen anybody yet break down the numbers, and I really wanted to know for myself, what does that look like? So our first 100 packs actually comes from an assortment of the auxiliary products, the sticker collections, the binder collections, the poster collections, and a few ETBs there as well. And then the other 90 packs for today's review comes from a sealed ETB case. And so we show those to you in those 2 different groups, so you can kind of get an idea of there's some differences. Do the auxiliary products have better pull rates, so on and so forth. And then of course we look at them combined, and then we'll summarize it at the end. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at some of the data. And as we do that, we'll bounce back and forth and look at the cards in that class as well, and understand, again, that card stock, the quality, and it's anything there worth grading, perhaps, if that's something that you like to do. All right, so as we dive in with the numbers, the first one we're going to be looking at is the assorted packs, that 100 assorted packs. And as again, this came from sticker collections, binder collections, and so forth. Now, we broke this into a couple of different categories, and I'm going to quickly explain them. The first one's going to be the TCG playable cards. Now, these are just hand-selected ones, obviously, depending on your deck, what you want to do. There's a lot of different cards you could pick for your decks, but I know there's a few here that people are looking forward to. For example, the Badoo. And there's a few staples in decks today, like the Earthen Vessel, the Buddy Buddy Poppins. And then, of course, a couple of other things that I would just throw in there just to say, hey, here's some cards that are pretty playable. And again, this number may change. That's probably the most, I would say, dynamic number, depending on how you like to build your decks. So that's going to be this first column here. The second column is going to be the Evolution Rares. This being the Prismatic Evolution set. I figured people are going to want to be pulling, especially if they just got back in from Pocket, or they're new to the game, or new to the TCG. They're going to want to be able to pull the Evolutions, the entire Evolution line, and these Evolution pulls from this, which are just rares, are something that they may want to have. So I kind of pulled those out as well, and just said, what does that look like for these EV collectors? Next, we look at the Pokeball Holo. Now, this is one of the things I think I like the most. I do like the Master Ball as well, but I must say, between the Master Ball and the Pokeball, the texture on this is beautiful, and it really changed the game for me, and I like it so much better than just a regular reverse holo or holo. So we'll take a look at those and look at the texture as well. Then we have the double rares. Of course, that's typically going to be some of the trainers, and we'll look at that from the ultra rare perspective. And last but not least, A-Specs, Master Balls, and special illustration rares. I'll go ahead and ruin it. We did not get any hyper rares whatsoever, so no gold cards for us, but it was still a good time regardless. So taking us back into the section of the TCG, they actually had a lot of great playable cards. You were getting 1 to 2 cards per pack that was potentially playable. Again, that may differ on your playing needs, your deck strategies, what you're doing, but most people could get some cards in there. Now, taking us over into one of the new categories that I'm very excited about. This is the Pokeball section. So the Pokeballs themselves are actually quite interesting, and the texture on these make it really stand out. And I think this is going to be something that people are going to enjoy. They're going to prioritize this probably over holos and reverse holos, in my opinion. And I think it's going to be one of those things as well, not just from a collectability standpoint. Players are going to want to have them in their decks. They just look good. Now, one of the other things you'll notice here as we look at this column of the Pokeballs is there's not many duplications. As we open these 100 random packs from different assortment of products, it was definitely pretty well distributed. So as you're going through trying to collect the Pokeballs, it seemed like that might be a very feasible section or subsection of the set that you could actually achieve without having too much difficulty. Now, if you're not familiar with it, and it does come in the booklet that came with the ETB, these only apply to the regular cards throughout the set. You're not going to see Pokeballs in the special illustration rares and things like that. That's what they reserve for the Master Ball. So in this case, it's only going to be restrained within the commons, uncommons, and rares. So let's take a look at that real quick and just understand what does the scope of this introduction of the Pokeball and Master Ball really mean. So as stated here in the pamphlet that comes with the ETB, you're going to see any common, uncommon, rare card can be found with a Pokeball, which is up to 100 cards total. And then also now the Master Ball, which is another 100 cards. So this adds an additional 200 cards to your set. And you heard me right, ladies and gentlemen, an extra 200 cards to the set. So this is going down, I think, in history. I could be wrong here, but as the biggest set ever released by Pokemon. So I pulled out 4 of the Pokeballs that I thought brought different characteristics that you might like to see. So this is the future version. Now the future version, again, already had a really cool blue to silver look, and now we've overlaid this Pokeball on top of it. And now this also makes the entire card textured as well, including the area here that potentially may not be, for example, in a reverse holo. Taking the same thought process, but now with an ancient trainer, which it has that fade from like the ancient look all the way over to the silver. Beautiful Pokeball overlay, and again, texture now throughout the entire card. Beautiful, beautiful card. Taking it now into some of the evolutions. The evolutions themselves already look great, but now you add this layer of the Pokeball in, and it really stands out. Again, when you talk about collectability, it's definitely something I think is going to start to resonate with our collectors, and it's something that gives an extra flair. And the Umbreon definitely is one that I think will go down as a popular card. Now the print quality on these Pokeballs did seem to have a bit of a mix. For example, here we're looking at this front card is the Umbreon. You know, we do have standard factory whitening here, but other than that, there was a couple of small manufacturing dings as well. You can see this just came like this right out of the pack. So definitely not ideal. These probably will go through a slight process change as we continue to print them, hopefully improve as we go, but you just never know how the print quality is going to be. The majority of these Pokeballs were decent. They weren't too bad, but they did have whitening here and there on some of the cards and some minor defects. So definitely a little bit harder to get a good print quality across all the packs. We only got about 6 A specs, and again, the double up happened on the other side as well. So not only did we double up on the 100 packs, we doubled up on the ETB case as well with the scoop up cyclones. But again, these are the A specs. If you're familiar with them, they're pretty much really cool playable cards. They allow you to have one in your deck. But overall, the print quality here wasn't great. Definitely whitening on all of them, some weird edges on a couple of them. So not the best when it comes to quality, but most of us are putting these in the decks. There's not too much else unless you're doing some set collection that you're gonna do with these. So not a big deal when it comes to print quality, but definitely something just to be aware of. All right, now we're getting into the good stuff. We're gonna jump now into the Master Balls. The Master Balls, as you can imagine, are pretty hard to pull. but not as hard as the special illustration rares or even the hyper rares in our case. This was something I saw a lot more of than I expected, but I still don't have that many given the number of packs that we opened. In the first 100 packs, we got about 4 Ultra Balls with no duplicates, thankfully. But given that we have essentially 100 Master Balls to potentially collect, you can imagine the number of packs you would have to open to actually get one of each of these. So definitely something you want to buy in the secondary market. Try to find them at a good price. We happened to get the Espeon, Duskull, Cottony, and Bidoof on the first 100. And then on the other 90, we ended up getting an Eevee, Slowking, another Cottony, which was our only double up across the total 190, Hoot Hoot, and a Seaking. So nothing that was massive, like an Umbreon, for example, but we did get the Eevee and the Espeon, which I thought was pretty cool. Now this class of cards, I think, has the same level of intrigue as the Pokeball. It's going to attract both the collector, the player, and everything in between. However, it's also far more rare. Now, I don't think that the Master Ball is any more textured than the actual Pokeball, but they still look beautiful, just as good as the Pokeball, if not just slightly better. Maybe that's the rarity speaking to me here. But definitely beautiful cards. Again, we got a couple of these. Out of all of them, we ended up getting 8 unique, and then of course 9 total because of the double up on Cottony. Now diving into the quality of the cards isn't probably what most of us would hope. We have some of the raised lips that we've seen before, whitening on the edges, off-centering, left to right, for example. Definitely the Master Balls, I could see being a class of somebody trying to collect them all in a PSA 10 or CGC Pristine, something of that nature. But so far, most of these are off-center left to right. You can probably see that on most of these just a little bit. Top to bottom has been pretty good, but they all have usually some white dot, some little raised lip on the edge. Definitely a little something going on with each one of them, and that really prevents that perspective of at least grading for the quality that we're receiving thus far. All right, now last but not least, we look at the special illustration rares, and I unfortunately have to skip the category of hyper rare because we didn't get any. But the special illustration rares definitely were a category that were very hard to get. And as we can imagine, trying to get any one specific special illustration rare is going to be difficult. So we got 3 in total, one of which was the Heartflame Mask Ogerpon, and then the other 2 being a Sandy Shocks and the Blood Moon Ursaluna. Now, the assorted 100 packs did give us the second special illustration rare, while the 1 case of ETBs only gave us a single one. And again, none of this is conclusive. This is such a small sample size, but it's all that we could really get our hands on and have the ability to open without impacting other perspectives of the business. And of course, as you would imagine, these cards look absolutely gorgeous. The Blood Moon Ursaluna, for example, just coming down, smoke out of the mouth, beautiful Blood Moon in the background, Sandy Shocks as well, and of course, some beautiful colors for the Heartflame Mask Ogerpon. But I still would have loved to have seen one of the evolutions myself. So what does this all look like when we combine it at the end and we look at the pull rates over 190 packs? A-specs are running in at about 6, which is about a 3% pull rate, and you get 1 in every 32 packs. Double rares, which again is that EX era, the standard EX, it's pulling in about 38 total, 20% pull rate, and about 1 in every 5 packs. Evolution rares, again, you get a rare in every pack, so I'm really just pulling out the Evolution line itself because I thought that might be a cool collectible item. You get 109 of those, which is about 57% pull rate, and you get 1 in every 2 packs. You're getting an Evolution in every 2 packs or so. Master Balls, as we know, is one of the top and difficult cards to pull. We only pulled 9 Master Balls, which is a 5% pull rate, and you get 1 in every 21 packs. Pokeballs, on the other hand, are actually quite plentiful, as we said before. We got a lot that were not duplicates either. We only had dubs on about 10 cards. The rest were all unique. We got 65 total, 34% pull rate, and you get 1 in every 3 packs, which is pretty good. Now, the playable cards, again, it's up to the player, up to the decks, up to the change in the meta. But at this moment in time, I hand selected some of the ones I think most people would agree on. And we got plenty of those, of course, getting multiple cards in a single pack. And so you would typically see 1 to 2 playable cards in a single pack, which is great for the TCG game. Now, moving it out to our special illustration rares, which for us was the highest category that we were able to pull. We only got 3 of those, a 2% pull rate. That's 1 in every 63 packs. That's pretty rough. Last but not least is the ultra rares. That's our trainers. We got 9 of the trainers. That's about a 5% pull rate, and you get 1 in every 21 packs. Overall, the card condition was pretty good on most of these. The typical white dots, nothing terrible. I've definitely seen a lot worse in Sword and Shield, so I think it's pretty much status quo for Scarlet and Violet. So anytime that you're looking at the English side of Scarlet and Violet, I think you already know what to expect, and it's about the same as you would see there. Now, we're gonna end it on a thought, and that thought is the pull rate conversation and people speaking to the fact of how bad the pull rates are for Prismatic Evolutions. It really depends on what you're looking for. And I think a lot of the perspective today is that people are wanting to pull one of the special illustration rare evolution lines. And of course, that's going to be very difficult to get. But if you look at all the other things that we were able to get that could be of value depending on where you are in the hobby, what you're doing with it. In my case, I'm a little bit of everything from a player to a grader to a collector to a binder to some graded slabs to anything in between. And I saw a lot of value here, a lot of great cards. Now, was it worth the high-end market price? Of course, probably not, unless you got one of the high-end special illustration rares. But outside of that, there's still lots of value to be had here and a lot of really cool cards that I think anybody getting a chance to open up Prismatic Evolutions now or in the near future, you're gonna enjoy it. If you're shopping for Pokemon singles, cards, coins, and more, check out PokemonWonder.com. It's a great way to support the channel and get your cards at a really cool price. Use that promo code PokemonLove for 10% off of your order of any size, any dollar amount, to any country. If you're looking for more Pokemon content, check out our podcast series here. Otherwise, check out some cool stuff over here. Have a great Prismatic Evolutions release weekend, and we look forward to seeing all of you on the next one.